it was a time of sorrow and despair. 2006 marked the year when Julie's mother, a beacon of love and warmth, departed from this world. The pillars of their home seemed to sway under the weight of her absence, the rooms echoing with silences that her laughter once filled. The family matriarch, the woman who held the threads of their lives together, was gone, leaving behind a vast, unfillable void. Julie's father, a man of the outdoors, an avid adventurer, was suddenly adrift in a sea of grief. His sapphire blue eyes, once sparkling with life and laughter, were now clouded over with the pain of loss. He seemed to wander through the days, lost in a world that no longer made sense without his partner by his side. His zest for life, his love for the outdoors, everything seemed to have dimmed with the setting of his life's sun. The family dynamics shifted, as they often do with the loss of a pivotal figure. Laughter became a scarce commodity, replaced by the thick silence of mourning. The bustling, lively home turned into a quiet monument of remembrance, each corner whispering tales of happier times. Julie, the daughter, felt a deep sense of responsibility towards her grieving father. She took on the mantle of the lost matriarch, trying to fill the shoes that were too big and too precious. Her attempts to bring back the joy, to reignite the spark in her father's eyes, were valiant, yet the shadow of their loss loomed large, coloring their lives with shades of melancholy. In the wake of their loss, the family was left to navigate through life without their guiding light. The threads of their existence seemed to unravel as they grappled with the profound void left by their beloved matriarch. Little did they know, their journey through the darkness was about to take an unexpected turn, guided by the very light they thought they had lost forever. 3 years later, in 2009, an unexpected incident put Julie's father in a predicament. In the heart of his usual outdoor exploration, a misstep led to his only means of communication, his phone, taking a plunge into a bucket of water. It was an unforeseen incident that left him cut off from the world, in a place where he so often sought solace. Julie's father, a man who found joy in the serenity of nature, was suddenly faced with a silence that seemed too loud, a quiet that was unsettling. His phone was more than just a device, it was his lifeline, his connection to his family while he was out embracing the wilderness. Now it was gone, drowned in a bucket of water, and he was left feeling a little more alone, a little more vulnerable. As evening fell, he shared his predicament with Julie. The worry etched on her face mirrored his own, but she was quick to reassure him. "Don't worry, Dad," she said, her comforting words cutting through his mounting anxiety. "We'll get you a new phone first thing tomorrow morning." Her words were meant to comfort, to alleviate the worry that had started to gnaw at his insides, and for a moment it seemed to work. He nodded, his blue eyes reflecting a sense of relief. Yet, as the father and daughter shared a quiet dinner, the air was thick with an unspoken tension. The thought of the outdoorsmen venturing out without a means of communication was unsettling, but they held onto the promise of a new day, a new phone, a re-established connection. As the day came to an end, Julie reassured her father that help was on its way. Little did they know, the night had other plans. Plans that would challenge their resolve, question their beliefs, and take them on a journey that walked the line between this world and the next. As darkness fell and Julie rested, a spectral voice echoed through the room. A whisper in the wind, a lilt in the silence. Julie's mother seemed to speak from beyond the veil. The voice came not once, but twice, its urgency piercing through the night. "Get your father a phone." At first, Julie brushed it off as a figment of her fevered imagination. The flu had taken a toll on her, and she was half asleep after all. But the voice was insistent, its spectral tone resonating with a mother's concern. The message was clear and demanding, a plea from the other side, a plea for her father's safety. The echoes of her mother's voice lingered, a ghostly melody in the quiet house. The words reverberated through Julie's mind, stirring her from her fever-induced stupor. The voice was as real as the moonlight streaming through her window, the urgency in the message undeniable. It was a call to action that Julie could not ignore. With a deep breath, Julie pushed herself out of bed, her body protesting against the sudden movement. The house was still, the only sound the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. She moved through the rooms, her heart pounding, her mind focused on one thing: find a phone for her father. She rummaged through drawers, looked under beds, her eyes straining in the dim light. She felt an unseen force guiding her, a spectral hand leading her on this late-night quest. Every corner she turned, every room she entered, she felt her mother's presence, her spectral guidance steering her towards her goal. Finally, she found it. An old, forgotten phone, tucked away in a dusty box. It wasn't the latest model, but it was functional, a lifeline, a means of communication. As she held it in her hands, she felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had done what the spectral voice had asked of her. Guided by an unseen force, Julie embarked on a late-night journey to ensure her father's safety. As she walked back to her room, the phone in her hand, she felt her mother's presence fade, her spectral mission accomplished. Little did Julie know that her mother's spectral guidance was not mere hallucination. As the clock ticked away, her father, now armed with the phone, settled in for the night, unaware of the pivotal role that device would play in his life. Hours later, piercing the quiet stillness of the early morning, the phone rang. Bleary-eyed and heart-pounding, Julie answered, only to hear her father's strained voice on the other end. He was in pain, he said, his voice echoing with distress. His symptoms were alarming, vomiting and an agonizing abdominal pain that was intensifying with each passing moment. With a sinking feeling, Julie realized that her father was in a critical condition. His intestines, she would later learn, had twisted in a life-threatening condition known as intestinal malrotation, a condition that, if not treated immediately, could have dire consequences. The phone, that insignificant device, suddenly became their beacon of hope. It was the link that connected her to her father, the tool that allowed her to comprehend the severity of the situation. It was the means through which she was able to call for help and get her father to the hospital in the nick of time. The hospital staff sprang into action, their swift response a blur of movement as they worked to stabilize her father. The hours passed in a flurry, the hospital's sterile smell and harsh fluorescent lights, a sharp contrast to the quiet, peaceful night they had left behind. When the dust finally settled, and her father was out of danger, Julie found herself reflecting on the surreal series of events. The spectral voice, the insistence on the phone, and the subsequent emergency. It all fell into place. Her mother's ethereal intervention had saved her father's life. The twist of fate was indeed life-saving. Her father's life was saved, all thanks to a phone and an ethereal intervention. It was a reminder of the deep love and connection that transcended the boundaries of life and death, a testament to the enduring bond between her parents. A bond so strong it could even orchestrate a miraculous save from the afterlife. In the aftermath of the ordeal, Julie shared her extraordinary experience with her father. She recounted the spectral voice, the urgency of the message, and the inexplicable force that drove her to act despite her illness. Her words hung in the air, painting a vivid picture that left her father spellbound. His sapphire blue eyes, devoid of sparkle since his wife's passing, now shimmered with unshed tears. His heart pounded as he listened to his daughter's tale, a story that was as much about his beloved wife as it was about their daughter's bravery. Julie watched as her father's face underwent a transformation. The lines of grief softened, replaced by an expression of wonderment and awe. The revelation that his wife, even in death, had found a way to protect him, to reach out from the beyond, was overwhelming. His mind raced back to the night before, to the searing pain that had him doubled over, clutching his stomach. He remembered the phone Julie had handed him, remembered the call he had made, the call that had saved his life. All the pieces fell into place, forming a picture that was as beautiful as it was heartbreaking. The room was silent as Julie's father absorbed the weight of the revelation. His heart swelled with love for the woman he had lost, love that had transcended the boundaries of this world to save him. With a shaky hand, he wiped away the tear that had escaped his eye. He looked at Julie, gratitude etched on his face. In that moment, he understood. His wife's spirit had intervened, had guided their daughter to him in his hour of need. The spectral voice Julie had heard, the urgency she had felt, it was all part of a grand design, a loving wife and mother's final act of protection. In the face of death, love found a way to guide and protect, proving that the bond between Julie's mother and her family was truly unbreakable.